Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a Rune and Tarot Divination for the 18th day of November 2021. Well, it's a Thursday, a Jupiter day, and if it's the 18th, that reduces to 9, which is the numerology describing endings, completion, generosity, and spiritual awareness. It also means that in another week my fire cider will be done soaking and I can strain it and start using it. That'll be good. My husband's really looking forward to that. We used some fresh horseradish out of the garden. He got to go out there and dig some for me, and I used that in it. So that was very cool. And he keeps checking he's in different stages with the apple cider vinegar that he's doing. So it's kind of fun when we're both doing something like that. Anyway, from the esoteric influences, we know for today, we know that the sun's in Scorpio, the moon is in Taurus. We have a partial lunar eclipse tonight. It starts at 10:01 Pacific Standard Time, p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in my corner of the world. Check for where it's going, what time it'll be out there for you. But anyway, we're also in the maiden phase of the full moon. Now, the full moon is technically full at 12:58 a.m., so just before 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you've got that, 3-hour window there when the partial lunar eclipse begins. It's about going to be like 97% covered. So not true totality or anything, but the totality of that happens let's see, I think just after 1 a.m. maybe. So you won't see the full moon if we're going to have clouds, and I don't really know what that means until we actually have it. But because we had clouds last night, but I still got some cool pictures of the moon. Basically, it was almost in its maiden phase. I'm not really sure well, I guess it was in its maiden phase. It's in its maiden phase now, until it turns full tomorrow early morning. Then it'll be in the mother phase. But if you wanted to do something, a ritual that involves transition, that's the whole point of what I'm saying. The lunar eclipses will eclipse an entire month's energy for the moon, a lunar month. And so consequently, if you're looking, one of the things I said in today's esoteric influences is that it has to do with perception shifting. And that you could work with the transitional energy of the partial lunar eclipse to allow a new vision to manifest. Also, you could incorporate any intentions you set on the new moon that you usually bring to fulfillment, or at least check in on the full moon itself. You could also incorporate something like that into some kind of a ritual. But for me, it's going to be after midnight when I do that. So technically, it'll be tomorrow. But anyway, the other thing that I thought was interesting with the lunar transits and then with the human design information for today is it sort of signals that you stand ready to go it alone to explore new opportunities, particularly if others don't share your vision. And realistically, instead of stressing about that, kind of view that as, well, maybe this is where I was always supposed to go, right? It could be your moment to make a selfless contribution to something greater than yourself, especially if you're aware of the transitional aspect of this blood moon that's happening tonight. I think that we sometimes stay too stuck in our perceptions, and we don't allow for things to move into something else. And when we do, it can often open doors that we didn't even know were there. So and know that your dedication to a higher purpose is driving you forward, and your insights are likely going to bring you some success. So, let the old paradigms drop away and allow for something new to take hold today, and see where that takes you. Maybe today's rune and tarot reading will help us with that. So let's take a look at the rune for today. I'm sitting here letting them fall through my fingers. It's taking forever. We have Ingus. Now, Ingus can be written this way, drawn as a diamond, or it can be drawn, depending on your futhark that you're using, it can be drawn as two X's, one on top of the other, kind of looking similar to a DNA strand. It's the sudden release of energy, the sudden release of something, think of it as the seed. So the sudden release of life from the seed. So something, again, could be shifting today, and as perceptions shift, it does open the door. So I guess the rune is going to support that today. It is going to open something up for you, likely, if you pay attention. I mean, if you let fear govern it all, then maybe you'll be like, ooh, no. But don't be afraid to look at it, to think about it, and to explore the options you have today. Let's see what the Geomancy rune says. Oh, well, we have Fortuna Major. Let's see if we can find it here in the bowl. I think I've got it here. It's Fortuna Major. Its complement is Fortuna Minor. Fortuna Minor is more like progressive success, where you have, it's sort of baby steps in a way, maybe. But Fortuna Major means greater fortune. So allowing something to come into your vision today, basically this is Kenaz turned inward from all directions, as above, so below, and from within and without is kind of how that is. But this is coming from all directions, with letting the light of spirit focus inward to illuminate your perspective and illuminate and bring clarity to the choices that you have in front of you. If you were to look at it, it's basically, let me just draw this really quick before we get on to the cards. If you use the rune in the other way, then this is what you've got. It looks like this, but you see, you've got the diamond in the center. And so I think somebody at some point just decided, you know what, let's just use the diamond in the center. And for me, when I'm doing bind runes, I prefer this one, actually, the diamond one. That's why I use it. But I could just as easily use the other if I needed to. But again, I think that this is it's aligning with today's esoteric influence as well, which is kind of cool. Maybe it's going to further define, what some of that transition that we're going through. There's been a lot of external forces that have made people, I think, reconsider a lot of stuff, whether it's the path you're on, or the political beliefs you hold, or maybe some of the associations you have. Maybe you're discovering that they're not serving you, and you want to make some adjustments in that regard. And so it could have something to do with that. But overall, it could just be that a new door is opening, and if I could keep all the cards in my hand, we could figure out what that is. But I dropped 3 of them, so that's kind of interesting since I draw 3 cards. Let's see what they were, just for interest's sake. I dropped the 3 of and I just talked about friendship and relationships. I dropped the 3 of cups. I dropped the High Priestess, and I dropped the 2 of cups. And so, again, here you have some reciprocity and healing. Here you have the inner focus again, which could reflect the higher self impulse here to expand and grow and change and develop. So that's kind of interesting. We'll just keep all that in mind. Maybe that ought to be the cards for the reading. But we'll go ahead and we'll shuffle a little bit here and see what we have. I've already done most of the shuffling, which is, see, when I start to do it again, that's when things start falling on the floor. But the adage is, if you drop them on the floor, those are your cards. So anyway, so let's see what we have. Well, we have court cards. We have the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles. So now the aces are, I look in terms of in terms of the aces, I think of them with the same strength as, say, the Fool, and then probably the Page or Princess, the first card of the court, because it signals undeveloped potential. And in terms of our material security, I think that that's what the Ace of Pentacles is talking about. Something is being offered here. We see a hand reaching out from the cloud holding a large coin. But it's you see the rays of creation coming down below there. So this is really a very spiritual card. You see the greenery here that covers the wall and covers the archway. You see mountains in the distance, and you see a path right here, signaling that something is developing here that is involves your material security or your tradition or your foundation. So again, if we're talking about shifting perception and letting go of things that maybe aren't so useful to us, particularly during this time of the full moon and the partial lunar eclipse, I think the energies there are there to open doors. So realistically, the last card of the reading is telling us that. But in the meantime, we have the Knight of Swords, who, both knights are going to be battle ready, right? They wear their battle attire. They wear but typically their visors are up on their helmets, aren't they? So they're not it's not really a protection mode for them per se, but the knights are all about being on a quest. They're all about protection. They're all about typically on behalf of the king, but it doesn't necessarily mean that for you as an individual. Either there is somebody watching over you here today. This always gives me the impression that there's some stronger force out there that's sort of keeping an eye on things. Here though, you have the darker clouds appearing to dissipate. You see the wind blowing down here, evidence of that. And then you see that as the knight is galloping in though on his horse, you see he's bringing with him the lighter the white clouds, and that's going to signify clarity. So something is becoming clear to you today. Because it's swords, it's the air element, so it's the mental side of things. It's intellect, it's fairness, it's justice, it's balance, it's honesty. So something was not particularly clear to you. There was an issue maybe that was challenging you, and through courage and integrity and swift action and breaking through the clouds of deception, you see, you're going to come back and you're basically going to speak truth to power. And even if it's your own inner power, maybe you have been aligned with something that maybe is deception based and you didn't realize it. And now that you do, you're willing to rush in and say, no, I'm going to let go of that. And because I was following a path that was not honest, didn't have any integrity. I was lied to. I was deceived. And so now we're going to, and that could be the impetus for any feelings of transition today, where you're willing to take another look at the truth of the matter in order to let something new establish. The sudden release of, that's the thing, when you realize that anytime you've realized that you've been lied to, suddenly the bells and whistles start going off, right? And it just feels to me like Ingu's is talking about that, and it's the sudden release of energy. So it could also be the sudden release of truth and awareness and understanding, to where you can now move in a better direction that's going to preserve your overall success in life, either in terms of the relationships you have, or the job you have, or some direction you're taking in life. It could be that you've decided to go back to school and take some college courses or something and to open yourself up to a new direction. It could be something even as simple as that. Ingu's is all about the birth of something new, the sudden release of creation energy that then brings something positive, right? Well, I suppose it doesn't necessarily have to yield something positive, but it starts out that way. Because this is really, when you're looking at the Elder Futhark, you're looking at soul archetype runes. It's the language of spirit. And so this would be the above of the as above part of the reading, and that manifests then in a successful overall material security in the below aspect, of life. So okay, so now we've decided that we've broken through the deception. We are speaking truth to power. We're redefining how we see something. And it does involve our fundamental foundation in life. The Knight of Pentacles, again, he sits up above everything. He's offering material security. He's sort of standing guard in a way. Pentacles is the earth element. So again, that's our material, the material side of self, our values, our traditions, our family, our career, where we live, our home itself. Whatever the deception was that caused us to go in a different direction, we've discovered that it's not going to serve us, at least not in terms of our material security or our foundational type of security. I don't want to just put this solely on material security because I don't know that it's necessarily always that. Because again, you're looking at tradition, you're looking at the foundational types, the structural types of things in our lives, what our friends look like, what our family is like, how we interact with those around us in our neighborhood, in our community at large. All of this sort of provides the foundation of our lives. And here we're talking about someone who's trustworthy and wise and dependable and practical and realistic. And so again, is it telling us that things have been off to the point based on the deception from outer forces, we'll say, and now that we've broken through that and we realize what the truth is, or we're starting to realize at least that we were deceived, and we've been heading down the wrong path, now we're starting to rethink everything, maybe. And that seems to be more probably what this card is suggesting. Even as today we said, you stand ready to go it alone to explore new opportunities, particularly if others don't always share your vision. But here's the thing, is the vision that they don't share, is it one that isn't any good for them either? Or if they're the ones doing the deceiving, is it something that's simply serving their own agenda at the expense of you? That could be what that is. But again, there's a foundational energy with especially the Knight of Pentacles here, where we need to guard what we have, and we need to have a more practical and grounded focus on things. Be sure of that the messages that we're getting, the information that we're getting, is actually true and is actually going to take us to a level of security or fortuna major. If you just want to generalize this and not have this really be about financial security, it could just be the general overall, success of our lives. Rather, are we struggling all the time, or are things flowing pretty well? That could also be an example of fortuna major. But the idea of dedicating yourself to a higher purpose, that sometimes is something when you've been deceived, that realistically now you are motivated to do something more, to do something better with the whole experience. Maybe that benefits somebody else. Maybe you're going to maybe you're going to write a book, or you're going to have a website where you start talking about things that are important to you, that have brought you out of the darkness and into the light, so to speak, where you've achieved some clarity about it. It's kind of why I started the blog, Stepping Aside. I'd been through so much with my health. I had a severe form of rheumatoid arthritis. It's like it never left the acute stage. Usually the medicines will you're still not going to feel well, but you'll be somewhat less acute as when you first got diagnosed. That never happened for me. I stayed in the severe range. And it was only through becoming a cannabis patient and making my own medicines that I actually went into remission. And so I'm not on any, and I've been in remission since 2011. So and the interesting part is when I start, I've been using raw cannabis leaf in my smoothies during the summertime, and getting whatever I could from friends. They'd give me, here, try this, the edible types of stuff. And then when the harvest was in, and we went and I made the medicines. I started that at the end of the last week of December of 2010, sometime about midweek. By 2.5 months later, in the middle of March of 2011, I literally was in clinical remission. So what the dynamic of that is, I'm not certain, other than it seems to be that the endocannabinoid system was finally functioning, which brings stasis. And when that happens, your body calms down, your immune system calms down, and stasis can return. At least that's the theory. So I'm assuming that that's what happened. But, as of now, almost, over 10 years later, I'm still not on prescriptions or anything like that, or I do some tinctures that I've formulated, but other than that, I'm doing really well. But it's like this whole I felt compelled back in 2012 to start this blog. It's over at Stepping Aside, and I'm steppingaside.com. And it's just sort of grown from there. And you feel compelled when you've survived something. I guess that's my point. When you've survived something, no matter what it is, even if it's, where people are telling you stuff that isn't true, but if it's super impacted your life and the choices you're making, then when you realize that it was garbage, then you're released from it. And suddenly all this stuff opens up for you. So irrespective of, for me, it was an illness, but it could be anything at all. And that's what this feels like to me. Something is going to happen here where you are released from whatever is holding you back, and you're ready to move forward, to reject the deception, reject the lies, reject the old paradigm, whatever it is, and move forward on your own path. And it's an extremely liberating feeling. And I just know this from my own experience. You see, and then you come to the Ace of Pentacles, where in fact, you are beginning a new path that is going to provide a different foundation for things. Whether it's, again, your traditions, your career, your home, your trust, your ability to trust people, perhaps because of what happened here, whatever that was for you. Your ability to trust certain things is gone. I know that's true for me these days. People I thought were decent and honorable, I've discovered are not. And it was really it was a combination of the way they presented themselves in a deceptive manner. But then when push comes to shove, you find out who someone is, right? Well, over the last few years, my husband and I both have experienced this, and we've been discovering that what we thought was true, really wasn't. And so now it's like, well, you sort of have to redefine the playing field in a way. And so maybe that's what this is talking about. I just know from my own perspective that we've experienced that. And, you want to be careful the conclusions you draw about all of it. But at the same time, if something doesn't feel right, it isn't. It just isn't right. And instinctively that that's the case. And so I don't know. I think maybe, again, with today's 9 energy, you're looking at something coming to an end, something finishing out. So again, whatever deception you've been operating under is, the light is returning, and it's time to, guard who you are, guard what you have, guard the decision to go off in a new direction. That's what this sort of signals to me. It's like he's standing up there higher up on the precipice of maybe embarking upon some kind of new life for himself, or to guard the new awareness that he's gained after realizing, that was nonsense and I need to move on. And I need that for my own success in life, whether it's emotionally based or spiritually based or materially based. So it's interesting that this is happening on a partial lunar eclipse night, and with the full moon just shortly after midnight. I don't know. Maybe some clarity is going to return to our lives. We're going to be able to understand the bigger picture, to watch the transition of all of it, and to be able to consider it all in one fell swoop, so that you understand all the components of what happened, and what are you going to do now to set your intention for something else, and to realize intentions you set on the new moon. Maybe you didn't even realize what that was really involving until such time as it all sort of unfolds tonight, maybe. So maybe the realization of it all, of why you set the intentions you did, in other words, on the new moon, why you did what you did. So sounds like somebody's phone is ringing. I don't know that it's mine. It might be. But I don't have anything. It's not coming up here on my computer to turn it off. So it must be my husband's phone. Anyway, I guess that's all I have. Enjoy the moon tonight. Enjoy the partial lunar eclipse. And it's going to be the longest one. And I think in the last 500 and some odd years or something, or it won't be for another one for 500 and some odd years, 560 or something, 500 something. I don't remember what I read, but the longest time, I guess, that it lasts. So it is going to last further on past the full moon hour. So I'm not sure when it finally finishes out, but it's later on tomorrow. Well, early tomorrow morning, but later on after the full moon. So anyway, however you want to say that. I'm not saying it very well, but anyway, thanks for watching, you guys, and enjoy your weekend. Check the blog over there at imsteppingaside.com for stuff that goes up. The forecast goes up Monday through Friday there. If you follow me on Patreon, I do a weekly forecast for I use the esoteric influences, the main stuff at the top, but then I do recommendations for work and magic on each of those days. So check that out if you want to follow me over there. I guess that's it. The esoteric influences will go out in the newsletter first on Saturday. So if you want to sign up for the newsletter, that's over on the side panel of the blog. Just scroll down a little bit and put your email address in there, and it'll come to your inbox. If you just want to get it ahead of time. Because otherwise it comes out on Sundays. But other than that, I guess that's it. So have a good evening tonight. Have a good rest of the week. We'll talk again Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.